with our colleagues across the world. So my name is Isabel. I oversee our business education programs here at WBEC East. And I've invited 3 of my colleagues to share more about our organization and our work. You're going to hear from Afyang Inyang Itiat first about some history of our organization and how we got started, and then we'll hear from Vanessa Chandler about our educational programs, which are funded by the U.S. Small Business Administration. And then we're going to hear from my colleague Elizabeth Crumrine about our women-owned business certification and how that can help women in the business world gain opportunities.
Great.
And does anyone have any questions about
أمل من فضلك بس ارفعي صوت. أمل أنت سامعاني؟
second, sorry.
ازيك؟ معلش ممكن ترفعي صوتك شوية، يعني تعلي صوتك شوية، لأنه أنا شخصيا سامعة كويس. أنا أيوه أنا عاملاها على الآخر. طيب أوكي، لو ده آخر حاجة عندك خلاص تمام أوكي.
Is everything okay, Sohair? Can you hear?
Sohair wants me to raise my voice a little bit, and I'm asking her that it might really help if she really would be using headsets also. That would help her if she has trouble hearing my voice. I will try also to speak up a bit.
And strangely, when she speaks with you in Arabic, I can hear her. So I wonder if maybe she can choose Arabic channel for any interventions. Okay, great.
Okay. Great.
أيوه تمام. خلاص أوكي ميرسي.
Okay.
Merci. Thank you.
Thanks very much. So should we move right into the presentation? Afi, I'll hand it over to you if you're ready to start.
Ready. Hello, everybody. My name is Afi. Full name Afyang Inyang Itiat, originally from Southern Nigeria. Really glad to be here. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview of what we do in our history. So we are an advocate and a resource center for women entrepreneurs, and we also certify women-owned businesses. And our mission is to support economic self-sufficiency through entrepreneurship, and we help women start and grow businesses. And how we do that is we assist the women businesses with training, counseling, advisors, networking programs, and workshops. As you can imagine, with COVID, all of our operations have moved online and they're now virtual. So a little bit about our history. We were founded in 1995 as a Women's Business Development Center. And the Women's Business Center is funded by the U.S. Small Business Administration. So funding for many of our programs come from our partnership with the U.S. Small Business Administration Office. And since we are funded by them, we apply for and we receive grant funding from a federal agency to provide services to our women entrepreneurs. We are accountable to them, and we make regular quarterly reports on the work that we're doing. The other network that we're part of is WBEC. We are one of 14 regional partner organizations from the headquarters of the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, and they are headquartered in Washington, D.C. So the region that we cover in the U.S. is New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. And we help the women-owned businesses in that region with their WBEC certification. And, you know, one of the things of the certification is that you have to at least be 51% owned, controlled, and operated by a woman or women. So, yes. And I'm going to hand it off to Vanessa. She's going to talk about our business education programming.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vanessa Chandler, and I serve as a program coordinator here at WBEC East. I'm really excited to be speaking with you all today. I have been with WBEC East since May of 2020, so I joined our team amid the pandemic, and I'm going to speak to you all about the various education and training resources available here at WBEC East. So WBEC East offers a variety of different training and educational options to local business owners. Okay, so we divide our programs based on the stage of the business. So you see that we have the startup stage, the stretch stage, sustain stage, and the sunset stage. And we start at the startup phase for businesses who are still in the ideation and research phase. And then we go all the way up to the sunset stage for business owners seeking to retire from business by either selling their business or closing their business permanently. We also host a monthly orientation and business assessment workshop. And this workshop helps business owners complete a self-assessment about their business needs. It helps them to determine which of our resources best fits their business needs. And it also allows them to identify prospective clients and resources that can benefit their business. We also use an online program known as ED2 which gives business owners access to 70 or 80 different online business training and business development classes. And they are able to access those classes whenever it's convenient for them after they have submitted their membership. And lastly, we also host monthly gatherings known as Food for Thought. And this gathering hosts nonprofit professionals who are seeking to learn more about how WBEC East operates. So much of our classes are geared towards actual business owners, but these Food for Thought gatherings are actually geared towards other nonprofit leaders so we can exchange ideas on how to effectively support small businesses. In these meetings, the Food for Thought meetings are scheduled to continue in 2021. We also have a program known as the Jumpstart program. Jumpstart is a 5-week workshop series targeting first-time entrepreneurs. It is designed to cover the basics of starting and managing a business for those without a business background. Attendees, business owners can select whether to attend all 5 classes in the series for a big picture overview of how to run a business, or to just pick and choose whichever topics they're most interested in. And we adopted this curriculum from a women's business development center in Chicago. But we've been using this program for so long and we've made it our own, and we update this program with new information and new materials every couple of years. So you can see all the different sessions listed on the screen. We have the Before You Start session, which covers the transition from being an employee to being an entrepreneur. We have the Market Research session, which covers what market research is, why it's important to business development, and we also discuss the tools and resources available to business owners to help them with their market research. We have the financial analysis section, which covers the basics of business finance and budgeting. We have the business plan session, which covers what goes into a business plan, how to write a business plan, and why business plans are important when you're starting your business. And lastly, we have the business launch session, which includes a panel of experts, including attorneys, tax experts, insurance brokers, and local government representatives. So this is a super engaging course, and it's ideal for our startup businesses. Another program we offer is known as the Fast Track series. So Fast Track is a 10-week business planning class targeting business owners who are within 1 year of launch. The curriculum for this program comes from Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation. These courses are typically offered in blended format, half online and half in person. And in 2020, we have offered this course completely virtual. Each week, the class tackles a different section of their business plan with support from an experienced facilitator, subject matter experts, and each other. So again, this course is targeted towards business owners who are within their first year of launching their business, and it helps them along that process. So here are a few examples of our other training programs that happen on varying bases. We have the Covering Your Legal Bases course, How to Hire Your First Employee, Finding Your Funding, which talks about how to find sources of funding for your business. That could include loans or grants. We have Budgeting During a Crisis, which, as you could imagine, was popular during the pandemic. We have Protecting Your Business from Employee Work-Related Injuries in the Time of COVID, and that's another pandemic-specific workshop that we have. We have Digital Marketing for Business Owners, Manufacturing 101, and Succession Planning for Business Owners. And that would be a course that would be in the sunset phase, the sunset stage for businesses who are looking to close their businesses. We also offer one-on-one support to business owners. So during this one-on-one support, we're able to review their business plan with them. We strategize and prioritize next steps for their business. And we also take a deeper dive into topics like market research and financial analysis. And this is a great opportunity for businesses to ask specific questions and get specific answers instead of, more general topics that we offer in our training courses. So specifically in response to COVID-19, as you can imagine, small businesses have been incredibly impacted by COVID-19. Some businesses have had to close permanently. Others have had to close their doors temporarily. Many businesses have had to let go of some of their employees. They've lost contracts, reduced revenue. So we try our best to support business owners as much as possible during this time. And one of the ways that we're doing that is by transitioning to all remote virtual educational programming. So we have a lot of Zoom sessions such as this, where we do our entrepreneurial training. We also send out regular newsletters with local, state, and federal relief resources. And we send that out to an email list of thousands of entrepreneurs, so they're able to have the most up-to-date information about what relief resources are available to them. And we also maintain a resource page on our website where we frequently update all of the information that is related to the pandemic. We also have a program known as the WBEC East Cares program, which provides free consulting services to small business owners that have been impacted by COVID-19. And they're able to get consulting on loans and economic relief information, returning to work planning. We also offer financial consulting, digital marketing consulting, human resources consulting, technology consulting, basically any business operation that a business owner may need assistance with in this time, we're able to offer them some consulting services. So that's a little bit about our programs, our education, and our training that we offer through WBEC East. I'm now going to pass it off to Liz Crumrine, and she's going to speak more about our certification services that we offer here at WBEC East. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. It's a pleasure to speak with you today. It's been very isolating to be at home for this time. We're all doing our best to get ahead of this virus. Certification is necessary in our society because most people like to give jobs and contracts to people who look just like them. So here in America, that is white men. So we have a certification program to try to help women get contracts. And there are also other programs like this for disadvantaged or diverse businesses, for minority businesses, for LGBT certified businesses, for veteran-owned businesses, and there is an 8A certification for economically disadvantaged businesses. This is all necessary because, as I said, lots of contracts are going to white men, and people are more likely to hire people who look just like them. The reason that this is important is because supplier diversity actually protects your business from making terrible mistakes. If you hire diverse people and you listen to them, your business will actually make more money because you will have a diverse opinion and they will be able to help you from making terrible mistakes. So we can go into the next slide, Vanessa. The application process is very simple. It's all online. It has been for many, many years. To verify that a business is woman-owned, we collect a large variety of documentation. Pretty much any document that we can think of to verify who is in control of the business, we will request. We get information about their references, about how long their business has been happening. And some of these businesses honestly have been running for 80 years, but also we certify businesses that are brand new. So we have a committee that reviews the applications after they're reviewed by staff. They can ask extra questions to be asked at a site visit. Due to COVID, we are doing all of the visits online. And then after that, the certification committee decides to renew or to certify or not. Then we send an email to the owner with their results. The fee for certification varies based on your gross receipts for your business. So if it is under $1 million, the fee is $350. So this fee is paid for your application processing. We are not a club. If anything, we are a group for our corporate members. Corporate members, large corporations, pay a fee to have access to our list. And in addition to the list where they can pull people for contracts, we have large networking events where our corporate members can meet our women business owners and get to know each other and start business relationships. So as you can see, the processing fee is scaled based on income. If you are certified, you get to have your business profile listed in WeBank Link. As I mentioned, that is the portal where people put their application in and corporate members look for their women business owners. You can direct your marketing efforts based on our list of corporations who accept our certification. You have access to this logo that you can put on your business cards. We have lots of networking events. Normally there are 2 large national events that everybody travels to, but we are doing online events this year. There is a local forum and there are lots of opportunities to volunteer, which are a good way to network and learn how to meet people that will help you grow your business. So if you're interested in our efforts, actually, Afi, do you want to do this part?
Sure. So if you guys want to stay connected with us and everything that we're doing, these are all the social media handles that we have. If you go to our website, which is WBECEast.com, on the top right corner, you'll see a purple button that says subscribe to our newsletter, and you can subscribe to it, and we send it out, I believe, like bi-monthly. We also have a LinkedIn page, we have a Facebook, we have a Twitter and an Instagram, and we just share information about, like, you know, the statistics that are coming out about women business entrepreneurs, about the events that we have and the fundraising that we're doing, all the great stuff that we're involved in. So please connect with us. And that is all. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. This was very interesting. An amazingly short presentation for the amount of work that you guys do. I'm sure our Egyptian colleagues have a lot of questions, so I will not start with the questions that I have. So we'll open it now to questions from Egypt.
ممكن أبدأ يا أمل؟
عندي سؤال يا أمل من فضلك.
أوكي.
معاكي مراد يا أمل.
So we have a couple of questions, Ivana, and the rest of the team. Marianne would like to ask her first question.
Please go ahead.
أوكي تمام يا أمل. سامعاني يا أمل؟ يعني أنا بشكركم بجد على العرض.
Thank you so much for this presentation. Wonderful, amazing, and very insightful also presentation that can, with a lot of important and useful information. I have a question though. Working with your beneficiary women, what would be the first step, kind of? Obviously, what we heard here is that really talking to them about why it's important really here to make this transition from being an employee into being an entrepreneur. For example, how do you convince them? How do you persuade them? Number two here, do you have some manual you can use with entrepreneurs, or do you have some resource materials around entrepreneurship? Can they have access to this entrepreneurship manual in Egypt? Can they take advantage of this type of manual? So a couple of questions. The first, again, how do you persuade women to make this transition from being an employee to an entrepreneur? The second, if you have any entrepreneurship related materials, resource materials that you can share with them and which they can also try to customize and adapt for Egypt. Thank you very much.
I'm happy to answer that question. So when it comes to convincing entrepreneurs to kind of take that leap into entrepreneurship, that's where some of our resources, such as the one-on-one consulting, is really helpful, because they're actually able to express their concerns and speak to somebody about what that kind of commitment may look like for them. Because if you can imagine for, you know, a small business owner, if you have a family or you have different expenses that you know you have to take care of, there's a certain level of analysis that you have to do to ensure that you're able to actually feasibly run your business and sustain yourself, sustain your family, sustain your lifestyle. So having those conversations with a one-on-one consultant helps them to assess personally, is this the right decision for me? And ultimately, that's a decision that's up to the business owner. And did you want to speak on that as well, Afi?
Yeah, I wanted to jump in on that about persuading women to make the leap into entrepreneurship. I agree with everything you said, Vanessa. One very important aspect to that is, I believe, our Jumpstart program. a lot of people, women and men, they have ideas about what type of business that they would have if they would have a business. So the great thing about Jumpstart and about us having it weekly over, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks that we have it, is that a lot of the women that come into Jumpstart are working for companies. They haven't necessarily quit their jobs. They haven't decided to make that leap yet. But what Jumpstart does is it makes them business literate, right? It lets them know what different business terminology is, what they would need to do to cover themselves legally, how to build out a business plan, how to deal with the taxes of it. And like, the women come together and they discuss what type of business plans, what type of businesses that they would like to do if they could. And the women feed off of each other and they advise one another. So I think a great way to persuade women is, so I cover our social media. So I am always forwarding stories of businesswomen in our network that are creating new things, innovating, winning awards for something, opening up a business and being successful for it. So that's another big way to persuade women, is just to bombard them with positive information of all the women that are entering businesses, all the women that are becoming entrepreneurs, all the resources that we have that can help you make that next step if you're thinking about making that next step. As for the second question about entrepreneurship related materials, I believe that the materials that we have are specific to the different programs that we have. But I could definitely do research for you to see if there's something standard that we can send to you guys. So I wrote a note for that. I think that would be something that I could just research.
Thank you so much for that.
Okay, thank you, Marian.
أمل عندي سؤال ممكن.
اسفه جدا ماجده، ممكن ناخد بس مراد وبعدين انت على طول.
It seems like we have a lot of questions.
Yes, so we have let's do Murad first and then we have Magda as well.
Okay.
وانا محتاجه اسال برضه حاجه.
انا كمان رافعه ايدي من بدري يا امل. وسوسو. اوكي شكرا.
أنا بشكرهم جدا على العرض.
Thank you very much for this presentation and for this overview. I believe that much of the information you shared. I'm sorry that there's some.
I can hear you, Amal.
I'm sorry, but Murad, the person speaking, has stopped talking, so I'm just waiting for him to resume.
ألو أمل.
It looks like he is back.
مراد اعتقد عامل ميوت يا امل.
لا كده تمام كده تمام. سامعيني؟ سامعيني يا أمل؟
سامعينك يا أمل.
Very insightful information, a lot of information. I'm sure that this will be very useful when it comes to our interventions. Murad is the monitoring and evaluation officer at CEOSS, and with focus on entrepreneurship. I have a question. Do you have some specific experience around monitoring and evaluation? How do you typically monitor and evaluate the entrepreneurship development development centers or units? And do we have a specific tools and that to actually keep track of those projects targeting entrepreneurship? Do we have certain criteria, indicators, performance indicators specifically for the entrepreneurs? How do we also keep track of entrepreneurs' development? How do we keep track of the self-development and individual development of those entrepreneurs? So indicators, criteria, monitoring and evaluation, tracking system.
So I can answer regarding the tracking system that we use. We have a database that we use known as the Center IC database, and it's actually developed by one of our funders. And in that database, each of our entrepreneurs has a profile, and that profile lists their business information, their address, their email, their website, their business start date, what kind of business they have, how they formed their business. It has all of their information. And then there's also an option to track each of the sessions that they have. So for example, if I speak with an entrepreneur, I can go into their profile and say, I spoke with this entrepreneur, here's what we discussed, here's where they're heading with their business. And then if we have a consultant that's working with that same entrepreneur, that consultant can also go into this system and update, here's what I spoke about with the entrepreneur. And so what we end up with is a history of all the conversations and all the interactions that we have had with this entrepreneur. So some entrepreneurs, we can see as far back as 10 years ago, what they were doing with their business, what our conversations were like with that business owner, what their mindset was like at that stage in their business, and we're able to keep track of their progression. So that's a little bit about the tracking system that we use. And regarding evaluations, we do have a yearly survey that we send out to all of our business owners, where we request information on how they enjoyed, or if they enjoyed the help that they received from us. It also asks them if we helped them hire any employees. Did we help them start their business? Did we help them acquire any loans? And then we're able to take that information and aggregate it to report to our funders how successful our programs have been throughout the past year. And then also with evaluations, whenever we have a webinar or whenever we do a presentation, we send out an evaluation for that specific webinar that asks our attendees, did they enjoy the webinar? What was helpful? What wasn't helpful? What do they wish we did differently? So we're pretty much constantly always collecting information. And one more piece on evaluation, specifically with our COVID consulting program, we have a evaluation that we send out for that as well. So after the client has met with a consultant for 3 sessions, we send them an evaluation and we ask them to give us some feedback on how they enjoy working with the consultant, how the consulting sessions are going, and if there have been any major developments in their business. So we have a few different ways that we keep track of what our business owners are doing.
You said everything, Vanessa. You put it perfectly. Especially the fact that we have an annual community survey that we send out via email to all of our women business entrepreneurs. And we just ask questions like, which programs were best for you? Did you struggle this year? And like Vanessa said, after every program or workshop that we do, we also send out a survey like, how did you like this? Did you like the topic? Did you like the speaker? Did you like the format? So we're constantly getting data from the people that choose to participate in that survey. Because we have so many WBEs, we cannot individually keep track of everybody's individual development, you know. So we have the survey so that they can reach out to us and tell us if the programs that we're doing are successful, but also we're just a really open organization. So our WBs, if they're having issues with anything, they will reach out to us and saying, I'm having issues with X, Y, or Z, or I need to talk to, you know, a business consultant to help me with this aspect of our business. So they know that they can also just reach out to us if they need help. So yes, a lot of data collection. Oh, and just to give more information, the platform that Vanessa mentioned, the website that we use, Center IC, that's from the federal agency, the U.S. Small Business Administration. So they built that and they run that. And because we get funding from it, that's why they need that data and that information.
Can I ask a quick follow-up on that? Do you ever track them by kind of level of income or number of employees or, you know, other quantitative data like that?
We collect all of that. We especially first hire is a big one, and number of loans. They're trying to increase access to money, and we were really involved with getting people money to protect their employees because of COVID. And we pretty much do whatever the SBA tells us to do. If they have a suggestion, we try to make it happen, and we work with all different types of diversity organizations to achieve our goals.
And Murad, when the women entrepreneurs, when they certify with us and they fill out the application, they also have to fill out all this information about their business, like how much income are they making, how many employees do they have, do they have a vice president, where are they located, all really intricate, you know, questions about their business that we keep in WeBanklet on so we can track them. And they have to renew it every 2 years, I believe.
Every single year.
Every year.
And I don't even think I touched on the small business certification program that the SBA funds as well. But the vast majority of the businesses we certify actually qualify as small businesses, and that is either by their revenue or by their employee size. So they get an additional bonus. They get chosen for more contracts because the government sets a goal, a realistic goal based on what is possible in the market, and that is the goal that they try to achieve. So that's the way that they pull for these contracts on a federal level. And the goal is, honestly, it depends on the industry, but it's either like 2 to 18% is like the top that I've ever seen a minority spend be. That's like a best case scenario.
Okay. Thank you.
أمل ممكن أسأل؟
شكرا.
مجد هذا question. تفضلي مجد.
أنا بشكرهم طبعا العرض رائع.
Thank you very much again for this really wonderful presentation.
حاجتين.
I have a couple of questions or comments.
ستارت اب بتاعت اي
during the startup phase of any enterprise or
على انه احنا اخذوا جزء finance
they receive training around financial issues and
كانت انجح راس مال ابتدوا بيه وقدر يعمل لهم حاجه كويسه كان في حدود قد ايه؟
So what's the minimum, typically, what's the minimum capital that they should start with? And also, do you provide them with like pre-startup capacity building interventions? I know that you provide them with some marketing or training around marketing approaches, but do you also provide them with like pre-startup capacity building and support programs? And also what would be the typically again the ideal ideal capital that they need to have?
Could you rephrase the second question of do we provide them with pre-support
do you provide them, like before they start their businesses here, do you provide them with any capacity building interventions, training interventions before they start their businesses to make sure that they're qualified to start their businesses?
Yeah, so that would be our Jumpstart program. Is that's the whole supporting program where we make sure that they have all their everything covered before they actually launch. Like, I don't know if you guys remember the Jumpstart slide, but you know, we go through it step by step. Like the first one is before we start, this is an overview of business. Then we go to business finances. Then we go to building a business plan until finally at the last class, we actually get to business launch. So we support them every step of the way. Every class that they come to for Jumpstart, they come and they bring their questions about that are specific to their business and about support that they need, or, you know, I'm not very savvy when it comes to legal things. Can you help me with this? And we help them with that in the program. As for the finance program question about what is the minimum, I couldn't actually answer that, because I feel that depending on what industry you go to or you go into it, the question, it differs, and whoever is consulting with you could give you a better answer to that, because we serve various industries. But Liz, I saw you raise your hand.
I see every different size of business in my line of work, and unfortunately it remains that you need to have access to capital to start any type of business that requires manufacturing or access to equipment. And if you have that in America and you can buy a dump truck, you can make $1 million if you work hard enough. But the fact remains is that you can't necessarily find grants to buy heavy machinery like that if you don't have any individual wealth to borrow against, like assets. So we work with some financial organizations here in the city to try to get people access to capital. We work with banks, but unfortunately there isn't major support for anybody who wants to do that. And you really need to find an individual investor to help you if you want to start an endeavor like that.
And just to review a little bit of what Afi said about the Jumpstart series, if you're curious about the exact sessions that we host, we have the Before You Start session, which covers the transition from employee to entrepreneur. And then we have the market research session, which covers what research is, why it's important, and the tools and resources that are available to help them with their market research. And then we do the financial analysis session, which covers the basics of business finance and budgeting. And then we do the business plan session, which covers what goes into a business plan, why it's important, and how to write a business plan. And then lastly, we do the business launch. So like Afi said, we go through the entire process with.
أمل ممكن أسأل سؤال تاني؟ أمل؟ أمل؟ الصوت راح؟ أمل؟
Magda.
أيوة هاي إيفانا.
Hi, can you choose Arabic channel if you want? Because I don't think Amal can hear you if you speak from English channel. If she doesn't hear it, she only hears the Arabic.
I can hear her, Ivana.
Oh,
actually,
she can. Oh, okay.
I can hear her, but for some reason she can't hear me.
Ah, okay.
أمل. كده تمام؟
ماجدة أمل سامعاكي اتكلمي.
طيب اوكي. بصي أمل، أنا بشكرهم، بس كان عندي كمان سؤال.
Thank you very much for the answer you provided, but I have another part of the question as well.
هل جربنا نعمل شركات مساهمة بما انهم مجموعة سيدات اعمال
How about the concept of
باسمهم؟
joint ventures? Do we have that also in place? Did we try this out, having joint ventures among groups of women, since we are trying to target groups of women? So do we have the idea of joint ventures, like did you try to experiment with the idea of joint ventures or joint companies or partnerships perhaps?
Suggest that because people can think of their as competitors when really you can go as subcontractors together for a larger contract, because to get these large, you know, we have huge airport projects, convention center, like big projects that different women can join together. And also a lot of the construction projects have to do with lots of little pieces, engineers, you know, different construction, you know, demolition. We recommend that they always subcontract down the line with female business owners or other minority business owners. Because, I mean, that's just, we tell them to use this network every way that they can. And we, you know, the certification doesn't get you contracts if you don't use it and try to meet as many people as you can. And it has to do with who you know here, unfortunately, just like anywhere.
I'll wait till Anna finishes. So yes, I love that you asked that question about joint ventures. I'm really big on the programming side of what we do at WBEC East, and I always say that, you know, an organization is only as good as its network. So programming wise, we have a lot of partner organizations that we work with, that we do different programs with. So we work with the library, we work with different financial organizations, we work with legal organizations, because, you know, we're just one organization, and sometimes if a WB comes to us and needs support in something that we don't have the bandwidth for, that we don't have the expertise in, we can always pass them along, like, okay, I don't know this answer, but this organization or this woman entrepreneur can help you with this. And with joint ventures, I see this happen a lot with our networking events. Where the WBs come together and they mingle. And, you know, when you go to networking events, you have your business card, you talk to people and see what connections can be made. And I've known that there have been a lot of business collaboration between WBEs that have met one another that says, okay, yes, like, you know, I work with paper, I do printing, you know, let's see if we can collaborate in some way. So really, we try to really network with different organizations and have the WBEs network with one another. So yes, spirit of collaboration.
Magda, is that does that answer your questions? Do you have a follow-up?
Yes, it's enough. Thank you.
Shukran. Okay, who is next?
ايوه تمام. طيب تمام. انا طبعا عايزه اشكرهم برضو على العرض.
I would like to thank you very much also for this actually very insightful presentation, terrific presentation. And as a matter of fact, it actually here, I have to say here, it's very relevant to our scope of work. I have a couple of comments. The first questions. First, we as CEOSS, we have just really, again, initiated a unit for entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship development unit. As a matter of fact, obviously, you have such really great track record in entrepreneurship. You have also partnerships, you have a network of other organizations. So I have a question here. How can we benefit from this vast experience? How? Can you send us, for example, some materials, some background materials? Can you provide us also with some information about step-by-step step by step really details and information about entrepreneurship and business establishment. I have to say really here, we're just really taking the very first steps, and we're just trying to get our foot planted into this area here. But how actually can we actually have solid steps taken in terms of entrepreneurship development and also in terms of business development as well? The second question or the second comment, obviously here you provide support to entrepreneurship, particularly during the time of COVID, and COVID-19 is a global crisis. So can you give more details about what type of service, what type of support do you provide to the entrepreneurs, to the female women entrepreneurs? What type of support do you provide to women, particularly during the crisis of COVID-19? So thank you very much. So a couple of questions. The first has to do with what do you exactly do with women to help them establish and build up their businesses and entrepreneurship development? And the second question has to do with what type of a specific support do you provide to women with, particularly during COVID-19?
Can I just jump in to maybe help clarify the first question? So here, did you mean, is your question more related in kind of organizing the center itself? Like how, you know, what are the steps to set up this type of service for the women? Not the actual services they are providing, because they just sent us the whole presentation about that.
بس في جزء تاني على ده هو فكرة
my question actually, in addition to this, what tools that have to be made available within the Entrepreneurship Development Center? What tools, what instruments? For example, here, do we have to have certain internal regulations, internal statutes, for example? Do we have to have bylaws, for example, to help regulate the work within those entrepreneurship development centers? For example, here, how they actually can attract, how can we attract entrepreneurs, and how can we also make sure that they are retention of entrepreneurs? So what, again, really kind of like operational manuals, operations manual, do they have to have? So specifically here, the overall operation of those units really, and the entrepreneurship development units, and whether we should have certain regulations, manuals of operation, for example, what documentation do they have to keep, tools and instruments that they can use to provide support to the women?
I'll attempt to answer that about the tools that you need. So 3 came to mind immediately. So for operations, we have an operations and human resources manager. Like, she deals with everything operations related, human resources related. That is out of my area, but you would need to have someone in your organization, in whatever entrepreneurial organization you have, that knows human resources like the back of their hand, backwards and forwards. And as you are building this organization with HR, with the operations manager, with the president, you guys are going to have just a lot of meetings about what type of culture you want the organization to have, what is important to you in the organization, what goals do you want to meet. Goals, short-term goals, long-term goals are super important. And my advice to the person that would be doing operations or HR is just to get sort of a standard HR operations manual and then go through it and edit it for the specific organization that you guys are building. The second tool, I would say, I already mentioned it, is just to have a list of organizations that you guys want to partner with. And it can be organization and people as well. I've mentioned several times the Jumpstart program that we use. A lot of the programs and workshops that we have are only successful because we have a lot of organization and people in our network that we can use to say, hey, we're having a program about marketing. Like, we need a marketing specialist. And it's very easy for us to go in our network or to go to an organization that we partner or have worked with before to say, hi, we're having this event. Are you available? Could you do this for us for free? So that is a really important tool, is just having organization, having tax consultants, attorneys, marketing specialists, people that are experts in the topics that you want to share with your entrepreneurs. You need to have a running relationship with them, and you need to have a database with all of their information. And the third most important tool, I would say, is social media, digital marketing, newsletters. Newsletters are super, super important because it keeps people connected to what you're doing as an organization. And it also shows people that you're active, you're doing things. You're showing them pictures of the places that you're going to. You're showing them all the women that have certified with you that month, right? You're showing them all the programs that you're putting on for them, you know? And just social media, like, people like seeing active social media channels. It gives you legitimacy. Like, when you go to a website and everything is up to date and they have a blog and they have things that you can click on, like, because the first thing people do when they're interested in your organization is they're going to search for you on the internet. So if you have multiple channels that you regularly update, it gives you legitimacy, and it also helps you grow your network, because people they'll click on things, they'll follow you, and then when you have good opportunities, they'll share it, and then your network just continues to expand. So those are the three things. I think those are the three tools that you'll really need. You're going to really need a great operations and human resources person. They're going to need a basic manual that they can edit social media, and, you know, a database of organizations and people that you can use. I will probably let Vanessa handle what exactly we're doing for COVID.
Hi, can I interject here? Because I want to just talk for a second about the beginning of the Women's Business Center. We weren't always funded by the SBA, and we weren't always affiliated with WBEC, the national certifying organization. So we are governed really by, we have a president, but she has to answer to a board of directors. Now, they are the people who set our policy, really. And they are community members. And if you're just starting an organization, they all have to use their network to bring in money to run the organization in the beginning of it. So that is probably how things started out before we had the benefit of these organizations, these government entities giving us all of this money. So they are the people who determine how we determine our success factors. And also, the programming that we offer now is very different from what we offered 25 years ago. And just like we do now, back then, we did whatever the community needed. So we used to have a child care program. We don't really have that anymore. Those business owners are just with everybody else. So, like, I'm going to give it to Vanessa to talk about the COVID program. We saw a need, and the SBA gave us the money, and then we had to create the programming to fill the need that the business owner was needing from us.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Liz K said, having an active and effective board of directors is priceless.
So to elaborate more on how we are supporting business owners during the pandemic, during COVID-19, as Liz mentioned, the SBA, who is one of our funders, received funding from the federal government, and they distributed that funding to various women's business centers all throughout the United States. And it was up to us, the women business centers, to look at our population, to look at our community, and set, okay, what would be the best way to spend this money? Ideally, we would love to just give the money away as grants to the business owners because that's what they need. They need money, they need revenue. We would love to be able to do that. However, our funder, the SBA, the Small Business Administration, said, no, 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 you can't do that. And they gave us certain parameters around how we could spend that money. So with that money, we designed this one-on-one consulting program. And the idea behind this consulting program is to give business owners access to get the questions about their business answered, but we pay for those services. So for example, a business owner, let's say we had a business owner who owned a yarn shop, like yarn for sewing and stuff. And she had to pivot all of her business to online. So she came to us and said, hey, I need help pivoting my business to be all virtual, all online. Can you help me? And what we did is we looked at her business, we looked at what consultants we had available, and then we matched them together. And then they were able to meet on a reoccurring basis for 3 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, so that the consultant could help that business owner directly in transferring all of her business online. And the great part about it is the business owner didn't have to pay anything. We pay for everything. So instead of the business owner having to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to get the help that they need during an already difficult time, they're able to get the help, and then we get to spend our money compensating the consultant. So a few of the other issues that business owners have addressed, I took a couple notes. We've helped businesses create marketing plans. So if it's perhaps there's an older business that isn't on social media, our consultants help business owners create their social medias, create the social media content, come up with captions, come up with different things that they can post and get the word out about their business. We've also helped business owners review contracts. So if there's a new business and they're looking to work with a government agency, the consultant can review the contract with the business owner to make sure that the terms and conditions are to their benefit. We've had consultants work with business owners to do their taxes. We had one business owner who we were able to save them $20,000 in tax liability to the government by meeting with one of our consultants. We are able to help business owners apply for loans. So the loan process through the government can be very difficult. It requires a lot of information. It can be confusing with what the government is asking you to submit. So we have consultants that go through that entire loan application process step by step. And then when the business receives a loan, we have consultants who are able to walk them through how to spend that money. Should they spend it on, resources? Should they spend it on compensating their employees? If they want to apply for loan forgiveness, they can walk them through that process step by step. We also have consultants that help business owners with hiring employees or firing employees if that's what they have to do. Like I said, they help business owners with moving their business online. Basically, any business operation that there is, we probably have a consultant. Another big one is, like I mentioned, finance. If they need to look at their cash flow or look at different financial statements or, work with the bank to get some additional funding, we have consultants that can help a business owner one-on-one, face-to-face, answer all of those questions. And we found that through the program, we have about 100 or so business owners who are currently receiving consulting services. And since the program started at the beginning of the pandemic, we have consultants have distributed 500 hours of consulting time to small business owners. And we've received a lot of really awesome feedback from those business owners saying that it was very, very helpful for them. And it also saved them a lot of money that they otherwise would have had to spend working with that consultant.
thank you. Thank you.
سوزي يا أمل، يعني حاسة سؤالي قدم شوية بعد الأسئلة دي بس هقوله يعني.
Susan says that it seems my question is becoming obsolete or outdated, but let me ask it anyway. I really love and I'm fond of the types of support and services you provide to your entrepreneur. I love what type of support you're providing them with. And I really hope that we can have a similar experience, the practice taking place in our situation. But I have another some feedback I'd like to share with you. Obviously here, that most of your entrepreneurs or women, business owners who come to your center to receive services, receive consultancy services, obviously here you actually have been able to achieve 100% success rate. Is this assumption correct, or do you also face some dropout rate? Do you have some dropout rate? Do some entrepreneurs drop out? Do you have some attrition rate? Do you have some fail rate, if you can put it that way? That's my first question. My second question, in terms of the Jumpstart program here, in the middle of your program here, half of it is delivered online, half of it is delivered face-to-face or offline. Does this happen only during COVID? Does this apply only during COVID crisis? Or do you have some certain philosophy or rationale behind doing it half offline, half online? So what's the rationale behind doing it half online and half offline? Do you do it only during the COVID-19 pandemic, or is this the case whether it's COVID-19 or beyond or before COVID-19?
I'm happy to take the first question. I think it was far that you're exposing us a little bit, but that's okay. So there, of course, are a certain number of, I think, are you on the English or the Arabic? Because I can hear your response. I just want to make sure.
I'm on the Arabic.
Okay.
I think you might hear it just a little bit.
Okay, gotcha.
Can you please repeat this again also, because they had problem listening to that part of what
you said. Absolutely. I was saying that you're exposing us a little bit, because of course we want to help everybody and we try our best to give everybody great service and give them the help that they need. But what we found is we can only help the business owner as much as they want to be helped. So we can reach out to them, we can send them emails, we can call them, and even though they sign up for the services and they might come to one of our classes, or they might come to a webinar, or they might receive some consulting services, there are just some business owners who they sign up and then they disappear. And then we just never hear from them again, or they just don't need the help anymore. Or, you know, a lot of business owners, they're still working a full-time job with another company. They have their own families. They have a life that they have to deal with and everything. So we find that some business owners, even though they want the help, they might not have time in their schedule to actually get the help that they're looking for. So there is certainly a level of drop-offs. There's certainly a certain number of businesses that, you know, we try to help them and they're just not in a place to receive that help. And you can't force the services on anybody. As much as we want to help them and provide that support and make sure that, you know, they're getting all the help that they need, we can't force anybody to access our services. So the best thing to do with those business owners is just to keep them updated and to check in periodically to see if we can help them in any way. But overall, it's really up to the business owner to come back to us and say, okay, I'm ready. Here's what I need help with. Go ahead, Liz.
I can take the second half too. There's definitely a conversation at the beginning of the experience where we say that we don't think this is a valid business idea. If something is just not going to happen, we will let them know. But otherwise, we do try to support them. Jumpstart is not usually online. We usually do it in person. We prefer to do all of our programming in person. But until further notice, we're going to be keeping it all online.
I'm sorry, I want to get more clarity about this, but like, so the Jumpstart program here, is it half offline, half online, or is it all online?
It's online now, but usually it's in person, and they come once after work in the afternoon, once a week, and have homework. There's a lot of homework that they do in between the classes, and they bring it in, and the teacher evaluates it.
So pre-COVID, it was in person. It was all in person, and then when COVID hit, it's now all online.
So, sorry, let me translate this because this is important. Because for some reason they thought that it's half of it is online, half of it is offline.
Half online. Okay.
Yes, our teacher would have never wanted to do this online if not for COVID. So she was forced.
So sorry, say that again, please.
The teacher would not want to present it online if she didn't have to. She would rather do it in person.
Mm.
تمام شكرا.
Thank you very much.
All right, who is next?
أنا عندي سؤال يا أمل. في الأول أنا بشكرهم جدا على البرامج اللي بتقدم للسيدات، لكن عندي سؤالين. السؤال الأول، هل
that you provide with women? But my question here, all of your programs target literate women, educated women, or do you have programs for like less literate or illiterate women? Another question that has to do with entrepreneurship. Typically, entrepreneurship programs would typically be at risk of failure, and some of them would come to a stop, would come to a halt after some time. So do you have some like system in place to make sure that that this actually entrepreneurship development program will be sustained on the long-term sustainability of entrepreneurship development programs? And there's another also question. So تفضلي.
نرمين، عندي سؤال على في هو في جزء طبعا مريم سألته اللي كنت عايزة أسأل عليه، اللي هي الفئة التعليمية أو المستوى التعليمي.
Also, Nermeen has another question about, again, really, what type of women do you target? Do you target women with certain education levels? Also in terms of age groups, and also here connection between age group on the one hand and dropout on the other hand. Which age group is more likely to drop out? For example, here, is it actually younger women, older women? Which age group is more likely to drop out? Which age group is more likely to continue with this program? Also in terms of age level here. So what type also of education level also here do you target? And also business sizes as well here. Can you talk more about business size, big business sizes, small business sizes? And thank you so much for all the information you provided, because really this is very relevant to the program that we provide. So education level here of women, and whether you have some programs targeting less educated women, and also age groups, which age group is more prone to drop out or to dropping out?
Okay, I'll try to tackle some of these questions. So there was a question about like education levels and literacy. So the American education system, you know, is not perfect, has a lot of flaws. But one thing that I will say is that issues with literacy is not something that is widespread. So I would say in the mainstream general American public, most people have basic literacy skills. So that's not an issue that we really have. As for the type of women that we target every type of woman. Like there's not a particular age group that we target. There's not a particular race. It doesn't matter where you're located per se. Our funds is we have to help every woman that comes knocking on our door. So we don't necessarily target women. I will say though that we do have a woman of color committee. And that is because minority women, women of color, Black women, Asian women, we tend to be underrepresented when it comes to how many of us are entrepreneurs or try to certify with our organization. So we do have that committee to have events to sort of spread the gospel of women entrepreneurship and get more people to know about our programs, get more people to sort of engage with us, women of color to engage with us. So that is the one area that I think that we do target. But when it comes to our programs, when it comes to certification, when it comes to our events, no, we don't target any particular kind of woman. I'm pretty sure like federally that would be like some sort of discrimination, so we don't do that. So yes, do we have a system for entrepreneurs who fail? We don't have a particular system, but what happens is when we have the entrepreneurs come into our programs and get information from us, we establish a connection with them. And what that means is as they go out and they try to set up their businesses and they're running their businesses, if they have issues, they automatically think of us. They remember us because we were the ones that set them on the path. And they will often turn around and say, help, I need help with this. I need help with funding. I need help with my employees, and we will help them with that. So I guess the system we have is just word of mouth and people remembering that we were there for them at the beginning. As for which age group is most likely to drop out, I do not have those numbers. I do not know. I couldn't answer that. Maybe I'll let my co-workers try to take a stab at that because they deal with more data than that. I really couldn't tell you. Go ahead, Liz.
I am going to say that so much success in business has to do with luck, just like being in the right place at the right time. So we don't have, and also it has to do with if somebody has barriers to their success that are outside of their control. Most of our business owners don't choose to not be able to come, but they have family issues, transportation issues. We have a lot of barriers in Philadelphia to success. So I'm going to say childcare again is a big problem. If we could provide that service when we have in-person training, that would really help, but that takes a lot of, invites liability. We do try to serve the underserved community though with our programming, because we've noticed we want to serve a population that is equal to the population of the community that we live in. So if most of our business owners that are coming are white and wealthy, we are not doing our job to serve our community properly. So, and success, education doesn't have to do with success in business in the US. Lots of our very successful business owners are not well educated and they're not intelligent. It doesn't have to do with success here. It really has to do with who you know and if you have access to capital to start your business.
Oh, and I think there was also a question about the different type of business sizes, Liz.
Most of the businesses are very, very, very small. You can have a successful business making just enough money to pay yourself. If you have a consulting business, you don't have a lot of people to pay out. You can keep everything that you make. So that's considered a very small business. And otherwise, if you're doing, you know, some kind of retail business, it looks like you're a much larger business, even though you might not even make a lot of money at the end of the day. You know, if you have a restaurant in America, you're not going to make money for 5 or 10 years. So that looks like a small business, even though it has the capability to make a lot of money one day.
I think a substantial amount of our WBEs, their offices are headquartered at home, right, Liz?
Yes, 100%. I mean, most people, if they have an office, it can be sort of a place where their workers come to get their equipment, you know, but a lot of people worked from home before the pandemic and have shut their offices since then.
I think Emily is still chance, so we just give her a chance to finish.
أنا سؤال.
Question from Magid.
أنا بشكرهم على الخبرة الجيدة والإدارة.
Very much really for this again experience that you're sharing and for this great practice here. I have a question which has really been answered in part as part of Magda's question. So what again really here? Risk mitigation systems. Risk mitigation systems you have in place that can help again really motivate entrepreneurs to start and to continue their businesses. Again, really, there are so many risks again, surrounding entrepreneurs. What type of risk mitigation or risk reduction systems do you have in place, or safeguarding systems that can help also entrepreneurs feel motivated and encouraged to start their businesses and also to sustain and continue to grow and develop their businesses? Thank you very much.
We'll jump in here. I would say maybe a lot of businesses that we serve are covered. They're considered a limited liability company. So debts that they incur as that business, they're not personally responsible for, and it's a business debt, and they can, you know, handle that through the government if it's not successful. So they don't necessarily have their house come after. But here, unfortunately, since we don't have healthcare, a lot of people can't leave their jobs with their employers because they have insurance for healthcare through their employer. So if we had nationalized healthcare, we would be able to have a lot more small business owners who could pursue their dreams, because as it is, they're stuck working with their employer until their business grows enough for them to pay for their own healthcare, which is something like $30,000 a year, $40,000. Does anybody know how much our insurance is?
Sounds about right.
It's way enough to live off of. A person could live off of what they pay for insurance, and that is if you don't have anything bad happen to you or need any medication. That's just the basics. You have to pay on top of that if you actually have to use it.
So the question here, what actually type of measures do you take, or what systems do you have in place to help guard against such a risk or such an issue, lack of nationalized healthcare system?
Risk for us as staff, or risk for the entrepreneurs?
For the business owners to take the step. Yeah, so there's nothing, you know, like imagine if a woman was single, didn't have any family support. You really have to save a lot of money if you want to be able to start a business, or there's very little help here.
But for example, is there any kind of scheme where small business owners can get into some kind of pool of insurance and get like group rates or stuff like that for their health insurance, or you don't provide something like that?
I would say most probably just go without and try to, you know, hope something terrible doesn't happen in the beginning of their, I mean, that's why having a spouse who still has insurance, that's one of the barriers. And I mean, imagine if you were a young person who didn't go to college, meet a network of people to help you. I mean, so many Americans don't have that health coverage, and you have to be very, I guess a lot of people could have help from the government, but for health insurance, but honestly, it's a huge barrier to small business.
Okay.
أمل عندي سؤال.
Can I just give a little bit of a time notice? If we have about 10 minutes left, so maybe let us try to go a little bit quicker with the questions, and then you guys, if you have more questions, maybe can you send them to us, and maybe we can continue the conversation later. And also, again, I put the Facebook page for Women's Enterprise Center on for everybody to see, so you guys can also kind of follow them on Facebook, visit their website, and get a little bit more information there. So I'm just, let us maybe try to go quickly through the questions so that we can finish by 1:45, because our guest speakers, I think, have another engagement that we need to rush.
اوكي امل ممكن اسال؟ هو انا في سؤالين مرتبطين ببعض. السؤال الاول، في حاله بين شباب الخريجين بالهوس بفكر رياده الاعمال في مصر، وعندهم عندنا في مصر الفترة اللي فاتت
among actually here younger graduates and fresh graduates and young men, young women, there's really that obsession with entrepreneurship. They are becoming more and more caught up with this idea of entrepreneurship, and they see in themselves the potential that qualifies them for become entrepreneurs. However, many of them really have ideas that are not really doable, are not achievable in the first place, are not actionable in the first place. So do you face such a problem? Do you have similar problems, and how do you face these? At the same time, also sometimes there are really good ideas, good proposals, but what they need actually here is not funding in as much as investors, sponsorships kind of here, sponsorship opportunity. How do you really try to also get and recruit sponsors and investors, particularly if there's a good idea, that's really a good idea, it qualifies as a good entrepreneurship idea that does not really require much funding, but requires investment opportunity or sponsorship opportunity? And how do you deal with young people obsessed with the idea of entrepreneurship when their ideas do not actually qualify for a good, doable idea?
I'll take a stab at this. So I don't necessarily feel as though graduates in the US are particularly obsessed with entrepreneurship. The graduates that are obsessed with entrepreneurship, they would be business majors, and they've already dedicated their studies to trying to be the best business owners that they can be. As for the graduates having ideas that are not actionable, again, I keep mentioning Jumpstart. That's the great thing with Jumpstart, is that the young graduates or anybody that comes into the program with the ideas that they have for business, the experts can sit there and say, we need to work on this idea. I don't think it's going to work in this area. This needs to be fiddled with a little bit. So the great thing about coming to our programs is that your ideas and your capabilities will be assessed by not only the teacher, but the experts that we bring into the class, and also by your fellow classmates. The fellow people that are there will say, I think your idea is good, except maybe you need to change this. So that's a big deal with our business programs, is that we'll work with you on trying to make your ideas more realistic, because we ultimately do want you to succeed. As for recruiting sponsors or investors, so our headquarters that's located in DC, WBEC, we periodically have things that we call pitch competitions. And basically what that is WBEs, they come up with innovative ideas. So it might be for a service, it might be for a product. And what we do is people apply to be in this pitch competition, and they make videos, and everybody watches the videos, and then they vote for the idea that they like the best. And then we have several rounds of finalists. We'll have like the third round, and then we have the semifinals, and then we'll have the final round where we'll have, I don't know the number, we'll have like 10 or 5 people, like this is 5th place, this is 4th place, and then the person that wins first place will get like $10,000. The person that wins second place will get 5,000, and it'll go down that way. So not only are they getting a little bit of money to help them prop their business up, but they get a lot of publicity and promotion via social media, via news articles that say, okay, they just won first prize for this really innovative thing. And investors and people that are interested in that idea, or that think that it is something that's marketable and profitable, will reach out to those people if it's an idea that they like a lot. So I hope that helped.
Thank you. Yes, sure.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Great. Guys, do we still have any time left for questions?
Yeah, we can take one more question.
Okay.
هو أنا كان عندي سؤالين يا أمل، في منهم سؤال لسه متجاوب عليه.
A couple of questions, but one of them has already been answered. It's about really also here matching. matchmaking really ideas with investors, and this has already been responded to. Second question has to do with at what point can we say that this entrepreneur can now be on his own or in her own, or that they can be on their own? At what stage can we safely say that now they are on their own, can be left alone? At what step can we say that they can survive and thrive on their own, and they can graduate from this entrepreneurship program, for example? Do we have some certain criteria against which we can tell that this person or this entrepreneur is now well developed and they can now stand on their own, they can thrive and survive in the market on their own?
I could try out that one. So with our business programming, as you saw in our presentation, we have programming for the various stages of business. So we have the startup phase. Hold on, I have it written down, I think. No, I don't. So we have the programs for the various stages, but one thing to consider when you're working with entrepreneurs is very rarely is the process linear. It's very rare that you'll find a business that starts up, gets their funding, makes billions of dollars, sells their business and leaves. And that's all the help that they need. What you might find is at the various stages, the entrepreneurs will need varying levels of support. So in the startup phase, there might be one entrepreneur that needs a lot of help, hours and hours of consulting time to get them started and get them on their feet. And, you know, maybe they're good after that for the next 2-3 years. And then maybe they come across a contract that they need help with, or maybe they're looking to hire more employees, or maybe there's a new operation that they're trying to put in place in their business, and then they'll return to us for our services. So there isn't really a perfect indicator to say, okay, yes, we're done with this business. They don't need our help anymore. They never need to speak to us again. Because it might seem at one stage that, okay, they're good to go, but something could happen, you know, a pandemic could occur, a natural disaster, you know, life happens. And when those things occur, we try to be there, you know, to support them if they need to return. So I would say, to answer your question very definitely, no, there is not a certain indicator that says, okay, we don't need that, you know, we don't need to help them anymore, but more so we try to be available to them at whatever stage they're at. So if they need help in year 1 and then they don't need help again till 10 years later, we can still be there for them to offer them that support when they need it.
Yes, we provide, my alarm. So we provide the resources, we provide the tools, and we provide the experts. We don't actually like hold them back. We don't say to them, we don't think you're ready to launch your business yet. Like, we give them the tools and then they go out on their own. And if they need help in certain aspects, they'll come back to us and then we'll help them with that. But we can't actually, you know, hold them back and say, no, not yet. Have a lot more agency.
I want to thank the translator for all of your work. You did a great job. And also, you can tell them when their businesses are successful, that is when you ask them for a donation so that they can give it back to other business owners.
Lovely.
Yes, when they're successful, then we ask them to come to our events and tell everyone how great we've been to them.
That's a great tip. Amma, would you let us know when you are done with the translation?
I'm done, Ivana, now.
Oh, okay, great.
Amal, before we leave, can you teach us how to say thank you in Arabic?
Shukran.
Shukran. Shukran, everyone.
Shukran للجميع.
Oh, wait, hold on. Say that. Say that one more time.
Shukran للجميع.
Shukran. I don't know the last one.
شكرا للجميع.
للجميع.
شكرا للجميع.
شكرا للجميع.
Lovely.
This was great.
This is great. Well, with this, I think we can wrap up for today. This has been a huge pleasure for me to listen to this conversation and this dialogue. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everybody who joined us today. I also want to say thank you to Herman, who I think is now with us. Thank you, Herman, for connecting us with the colleagues in Philadelphia. Maybe she's not here. Okay. All right. And please, CEOSS colleagues, send us any follow-up questions that you might have, and we'll be happy to facilitate further conversation or follow up on any additional need for information that you might have based on this inspirational meeting from today. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Afi.
Yes.
I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly.
You did.
And Isabel, I think she left at some point, but please give her our thanks again. And we hope to stay in touch. We actually followed you on Facebook from our page, Hands Along the Nile. So we look forward to following the great things that you're doing. And hopefully we can approach you again for any kind of international sharing and information sharing in the future. If you do have any resources that you come across that are applicable, please think of us and send it to us, and we'll be happy to share it with our colleagues and CEOSS so that we can try to benefit from your great experience.
Okay.
We hope that
everybody.
Lovely weekend.
Thank you. Great to see you all.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye, Loco.
Bye.
Bye.